All right, all right. So I didn't tell them who I was. I'm Shalom, everybody. Good morning. I'm Officer Ophir out of IUIC Bakersfield. I got
Officer Mattathias.
as my reader, and we're going to go over how to make better decisions. So I want to ask this question. I pretty much know the answer to this, right? How many times, or have you ever made a decision that after you did it, you regretted it? It's like, dang, why did I do that?
Definitely.
All of us, right? All of us would raise our hand on that. We all made decisions where it's like, damn, why did I do that? Or why did I say that? So we're going to go over today, how can we use the Bible for us to make better decisions, and we don't end up regretting later on. So I'm going to show you examples that are good in the Bible, where we made right decisions and where we made the wrong decisions and the consequences for both. All right. And then after that, then I'm going to give scriptures on how to make better decisions. All right. So we're going to build up to that. So matter of fact, let's go and say on there for you guys online. Have you guys ever made a decision you regretted? Some take longer, some instant. You ever said something real quick, popped off at the mouth? You're like, damn, why I say that? Have any of you guys ever been in that situation? If everybody been truthful, they got to type yes. All right. But type on there in the comments if you ever made a bad decision that you regretted. All right. All right. Anyway, so let's go ahead and open up with 2 Timothy chapter 3, and we're going to read verse 16 and 17. All right. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 16 and 17. How to make better decisions.
It's the book of 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 16. All scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness.
So all scripture, so we have to go to the scriptures. Okay, you know what? Did any of my forefathers or foremothers make good decisions or bad decisions? What did they do? What was the result of that? So we look at all the scriptures to see that so we don't make the same mistakes or learn from their mistakes, all right? Or learn from the good examples as well, not just the bad examples. So all scriptures is good for that. Read on.
That the man of God may be perfect.
So if you strive to be perfect, you don't want to just be good. If you're striving for perfection, you're going to use these scriptures to help you get to that point. Come on.
Thoroughly furnished unto all good works.
So you want to be thoroughly furnished unto all good works. And how are you going to get to that point? By using the scriptures, studying them, and applying what you have read and learned. Right? That's what you're going to do.
That's right.
All right, so let's get into some bad decisions, all right? All right, let's get into some bad decisions. Let's go to 1 Maccabees, and we're going to read chapter 6, verse 39. And we're going to go all the way through 48.
Sir. It's the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 6 and verse 39. Now when the sun shone upon the shields of gold and brass, and mountains glistered therewith, and shined like lamps of fire, so part the king's army.
So this is going against King Antiochus. He's got a big army. It's comprised of multiple different countries joining forces together, right? And we're trying to take them down. All right, so this is their all their artillery and their shields and everything else is it's a great army, if you will. All right, read on.
So part of the king's army being spread upon the high mountains, and part on the valleys below, and marched on safely and in order. Wherefore all that heard the noise of their multitude.
So just people by hearing the noise of this great army,
and the marching of the company, and the rattling of the harness, were moved.
They were moved like, oh, damn, that army, man. Look how big, look at their numbers, look at everything, right? It was a crazy army. Okay, now read on.
For the army was very great and mighty. Then Judas and his host drew near.
But we wasn't scared. Judas, we wasn't scared.
And entered into battle.
Like, okay, we're going to war with them. It doesn't matter what type of weapons they got. I don't care about their numbers. We got the Most High on our side, right?
And there were slain of the king's army 600 men.
So we took out 600 men right off the bat. Boom. All right, come on.
Eleazar also, surnamed Severin, perceiving that one of the beasts, armed with royal harness, was higher than all the rest, and supposing that the king was upon him.
So he's like, Eleazar's like, hey, look, that elephant over there, that one's bigger. It's got more weapons on it. It's got more shields and protection. The king has to be on that one right there. So let's see what he's thinking. Come on.
Put himself in jeopardy to the end he might deliver his people and get him a perpetual name.
So he says, you know what? If I go over to that beast right there, and if I can get to that one and kill the king that's sitting on top of that beast, I could end the war right now, right? And then when I end this war, guess what? I'll have a perpetual name. Everybody will be talking about me and how I saved Israel, right? That's what he's thinking, right?
Right.
All right, come on.
Wherefore he ran upon him courageously.
So remember, it's a battle going on. So he runs to that elephant courageously, because there's men that's fighting all around him. So he's running courageously towards that. Come on.
Through the midst of the battle, slaying on the right hand and on the left.
So picture this. He's running towards that, and he's killing men on the right side to the left side. Like he's just turbocharged right now, right? He's going hard right now, killing everybody in sight to get to the king right there. Read on.
So that they were divided from him on both sides.
So much so that he was running through people. They was dividing, getting out of his way and everything. He's slaying them, killing them, getting to that king. Come on.
Which done, he crept under the elephant.
But once he got to that elephant where he thought the king was on it,
and thrust him under.
So he slid under that elephant, took his sword, and stabbed the elephant.
And slew him.
And killed the elephant, all right.
Whereupon the elephant fell down upon him, and there he died.
Now that was the dumbest, that's got to be one of the dumbest things right there, right? What do you think he had, like a 20-foot sword that's going to go through the elephant and kill it?
Right.
I just had a good idea. Let me slide up on this elephant and kill the elephant. You know what I'm saying? You said something, officer? Oh, no. So that's got to be a very, very dumb decision, right?
Wasn't thinking.
He didn't think that through clearly at all. He was just thinking, let me go and do this. I can end this war. Give me a good name, and I'm going to be a hero, right? Now, killing the king that went in the war, that's the goal, right? But you have to follow orders. You got to stick to the game plan. The game plan was working. We slew 600 men right off the bat. But he was like, no, I want to be the hero, all right? So now this elephant falls on him and kills him. Now read on. Watch what happens after that. We're going to go all the way through 48.
Yes, sir. Verse 47. Howbeit the rest of the Jews, seeing the strength of the king and the violence of his forces, turned away from them.
So they seen what happened to Eleazar and was like, oh, shoot, the elephant land. Then the men started getting fearful, like, oh, man, we lost one of our brothers, and dang, look what happened. Now watch. Read on.
Verse 48. Then the king's army went up to Jerusalem to meet them, and the king pitched his tents against Judea and against Mount Zion.
So we lost that battle because he made that foolish decision, dumb decision, and what this reminds me of is how many of you guys out there, and you could type to this as well, where you made a decision where you had the right intentions, but the wrong way about doing it. Sometimes you can do that, right? Oh, yeah, I know that happened to me. I remember I was Captain Amariah, something I was doing, and he was like, officer, you had the right intentions, but the wrong execution, and sometimes that happened. You can have the right intentions, but the wrong execution. The right intention is to take the king out, right, and win the war, but not the way he did it. He was doing it to get himself a name, and to be the hero instead of just sticking to the game plan. So that bad decision cost him his life, and we had to flee from that battle right there. So just that one mistake, that one bad decision cost himself his life, right, and that battle, right? Let's look at another bad decision. Let's go to 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel chapter 6, and we're going to read 1 through 7.
2 Samuel chapter 6 and verse 1. Again, David gathered together all the chosen men of Israel, 30,000. And David arose and went with all the people that were with him from Baal of Judah, to bring up from thence the ark of God.
So we know about the ark. The ark is our most valued possession, right? And there was rules with the ark. Only certain priests could touch the ark. Other tribes, not regular, but the other tribes, it wasn't allowed. It wasn't their office to touch that ark. So there was a lot of rules on the ark and how to handle it, how to make all these things, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody knew this. All right, read on.
Whose name is called by the name of the Lord of hosts, that dwelleth between the cherubims. And they set the ark of God upon a new cart, and brought it out of the house of Abinadab, that was in Gibeah, And Uzzah and Ahio and the sons of Abinadab drave the new cart.
So they're in front of the cart. They're leading the cart, right? Come on.
And they brought it out of the house of Abinadab, which was in Gibeah, accompanying the ark of God. And Ahio went before the ark. And David and all the house of Israel played before the Lord on all manner of instruments made of fir wood.
So we're traveling with the ark, right? All Israel, we're traveling with the ark. We're traveling with it, and we have Uzzah in front right there that's leading the ark right there, guiding it. Come on.
Even on harps and on psalteries and timbrels and on cornets and on cymbals. And when they came to Nachon's threshing floor, Uzzah put forth his hand to the ark of God and took hold of it, for the oxen shook it.
So here you go. We got our oxen that's near the ark, whatever. They bump into the ark, and this thing's getting ready to fall to the ground. So Uzzah put his hand to stop it from falling. Just think, that's like the menorah in front of me. If this gets ready to fall, natural instincts is what?
Right. Just
to stop and grab that thing, right?
Right.
Stop it from falling, especially the ark. This is our most prized possession. You're not going to let that hit the ground. You're not going to. So let's see what happened with Uzzah when he touched that ark.
Verse 7. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Uzzah.
So the Lord was happy because he didn't let it fall?
And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Uzzah.
That made the Lord mad because Uzzah was not a priest that should be touching that ark, but he touched it anyway, trying to stop it from falling from the ground. And the Lord was mad because he touched it. Come on.
And God smote him.
God did what?
God smote him.
So he didn't get a second chance.
God smote him.
God killed him for touching the ark, from stopping it from falling on the ground.
God smote him there for his error. And there he died by the ark of God.
So look at that decision right there.
Damn.
Sometimes you don't have all day to think about something, right? And something happens quickly, you make a decision, and it could cost you. In this particular case, it cost Uzzah his life. What should Uzzah have done? Because what would you have done? It would have been hard for me not to reach out and touch that thing, right? But you know that I'm not supposed to touch this ark. So I probably would have said, you sure you want me in the front? Shouldn't the priest be right here that can touch this thing just in case? Maybe you asked that question before, or you tell yourself, look, no matter what happens, I'm not touching this ark, right? But Uzzah didn't have that plan or process in his head of, just in case something happened, I'm going to be prepared. And look what happened to the decision he made. Look what happened to him. It killed him, right? The Lord killed him instantly. That was a bad decision. You know what I'm saying? That was a bad decision that most of us would probably have made, But you got to think things ahead of time. You can't just wait till instances pop up and then react. Have a plan in place before, in everything that you do. That's what Uzzah should have done. So let's go to number 16. And we're going to read 1 through 5, and then we're going to jump down.
The book of Numbers, chapter 16, verse 1. Now Korah, the son of Izhar, and the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, and Dathan, and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and on the sons of Peleth, sons of Reuben, took men.
And I got you reading all these names and stuff today.
Yeah, I'm like,
I'm sorry, man.
That's all right.
It's okay. Hey, work with us this morning, all right? It's early. It's early. Work with us. All right, keep reading.
And they rose up before Moses with certain of the children of Israel, 250 princes of the assembly.
So let's look. We got Korah and Dathan, right? Those are the main ones. They've been murmuring against Moses and everything else, so much so that they got 250 other people to join on their side. Hey, you know what? We could do a better job than Moses. Why he get to do this? I'm ready. Let me take the lead. Let us take the lead. And guess what? If you follow me, I'll give you a position too. You can do this. How does that sound? Sound good?
Yeah,
so this is what Korah and Dathan was doing, right? They went through all Israel and they found them 250 people, not just anybody. Let's read on.
And they rose up before Moses.
No, read that 250 what?
250 princes.
So they didn't just get anybody to follow him. He got 250 princes. So these are people with names, people know, right? With popular or whatever you want to call it. So he got these people, 250, to follow him. All right, read on.
250 princes of the assembly, famous in the congregation.
You see that? These men were famous in the congregation.
Men of renown.
Uh-huh.
And they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron, and said unto them, Ye take too much upon you, seeing all the congregation are holy.
So he's saying you got too much on you. This whole we're all holy. You're not nothing special about you, Moses and Aaron. Now remember, the Lord set them up. But Korah and Dathan, they got enough men behind them to say, you know what? No, we're all holy. We can do this. All right, you've done enough. Let us take over now. Read on.
Seeing all the congregation are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them, wherefore then lift ye up yourselves above the congregation of the Lord. And when Moses heard it, he fell upon his face, and he spake unto Korah and unto all his company, saying, Even tomorrow the Lord will show who are his, and who is holy, and will cause him to come near unto him. Even him whom he hath chosen will he cause to come near unto him.
So Moses is like, okay, you think you holy? Okay, the Lord going to show who's holy and who isn't. Come tomorrow, watch this. So now in the interest of time, we're going to drop down to verse 31. So keep in mind, it started off with just Korah and Dathan, but because of murmuring and backbiting and hatred for who was set over them as their leader, they got these other people to try to overthrow Moses. Does that sound familiar? Mm-hmm. Same thing. That happened in IUIC too, right? Mm-hmm. You had people murmuring, let's do this. IUIC is wicked to evil. And guess what? They had enough people to follow behind them, and they all left. Well, let's see what happened to the people back then. What happened? See how that decision worked out for them.
Verse 31. And it came to pass, as he had made an end of speaking all these words, that the ground clave asunder that was under them.
So the ground opened up under Dathan, right? And Korah and Dathan, and then all those people that followed after him. Read on.
And the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up, and their houses, and all the men that are appertained unto Korah, and all their goods.
So all their houses, their wives, their children, everything that they had, the earth swallowed it all up. Right? Read on.
They and all that appertained to them went down alive into the pit, and the earth closed upon them, and they perished from among the congregation.
Now that's got to be a hard way to die. To get swallowed up, be buried alive. That's got to be tough. All because what? It was a bad decision. Korah and Dathan whispered in their ear, hey, why don't you join us? Hey, you know what, right here, let's do that. I got certain power right now, but, up under you guys, I can be higher in the congregation. I'll leave with you. You're right. They all wicked. You're right. I'm with you. Let's go against Moses. That was a bad decision. And look how they paid for it. Death the next day, right? Got swallowed up. Read on.
Verse 34. And all Israel that were round about them fled at the cry of them. For they said, lest the earth swallow us up also. Verse 35.
Right, because get this. So when they see that this is something that they never seen before, earth just opened up and swallowed them. And no doubt about it that they heard what was going on too. Oh, Korah and Dathan, I'm staying with Moses, but I hear what they saying. Sometimes you hear what's going on, you don't report it, you don't say nothing. That's why they probably some of them probably had like a guilty conscience. Like, man, I should have said something, or, I don't want this ground to open up on me too. So that's why they fled crying. Come on.
Verse 35. And there came out a fire from the Lord and consumed the 250 men that offered incense.
So some offered incense when you read earlier through the chapter in support of Korah and Dathan and them. So the Lord consumed them. So that choice right there, it didn't work out so well for them.
Nah,
the Lord showed who was the holy, right? Mm-hmm. So that was a bad decision. Why did that happen? Why did they make that decision? Well, we're going to get into that towards the end of the class, why people make bad decisions, all right? But I just want to give some examples of bad decisions and the consequences of that, all right? Now, bad decisions don't always end in death, but I'm just showing some extreme examples just to paint the picture right now. Let's go to Matthew chapter 19.
I know these names over here.
All right, all praises. Matthew 19, I want 16 through 22.
Yes, sir. The book of Matthew, chapter 19, verse 16. And behold, one came and said unto him, Good master, what good things shall I do that I may have eternal life?
So we all have read this a million times, right? This is the answer how to make it into the kingdom. So this man asked Christ, okay, what do I have to do to make it into the kingdom of heaven? Because I want to go. Read on.
And he said unto him, Why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is God. But if thou wilt enter into life, keep the commandments.
Do what?
Keep the commandments.
He says, okay, if you really want to make it into the kingdom, keep the commandments. That's what you got to do. Read on.
He saith unto
and
him.
We're going to go all the way through 22.
Yes, sir. He saith unto him, which? Jesus said, thou shalt do no murder. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness.
So he's thinking, okay, I got this. I'm making it to the kingdom because none of these things I do. Like, okay, cool. All right. Read on.
Honor thy father and thy mother, and thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
No problem. I got that. Read on.
The young man said unto him, all these things have I kept from my youth up. What lack I yet? Jesus said unto him, if thou wilt be perfect.
But if you want to be perfect, right, because you do those things, but that's not the end of it. Come on.
Go and sell that thou hast, and give to the poor, and thou shalt have treasure in heaven, and come and follow me.
Now watch this. Christ said, because he said he keeps the commandments. He says, all these things I do. I love my neighbor. Well, if he loved his neighbor and you see your neighbor in need, you'd help him. That's what the commandments say.
Right.
So he lied right there. He wasn't willing to do that right there. Watch, read on.
Verse 22. But when the young man heard that saying, he went away sorrowful.
Well, wait a minute. If you love your neighbor as yourself, Christ didn't say in that to sell every single thing you have and be poor and don't have nothing, and now we got to help you. He was saying you got a lot. You have an excess. So what you have an excess, sell some of that and then give to your brother that's in need. But he walked away what?
He went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions.
So he went away sorrowful. Because he had great possessions. He was a rich man. You know, he was a rich man and was like, man, if I give all this away now, I'm just like everybody else. I don't want to live like everybody else. I like my status. I like having, the biggest house, the biggest, chariots, the biggest, whatever he had back then. He enjoyed that. You know what I'm saying? He wanted to give that up. So he walked away very sorrowful. And guess what? He could not do that. That was a bad decision. Watch this. Let's go to Mark 8:36. Let's find out why it's a bad decision. We're going to find out why that right there was a bad decision. Mark 8 and verse 36. Because he had Christ right there. Christ said, if you do this right here, you're going to make it to the kingdom.
Right.
I mean, you can be no better than that.
Nah.
If Christ's sitting right here next to you and tell you the same thing, do this right here, make it to the kingdom, you're going to do that.
Yeah, you want to do that.
What I got to do? I'll sell everything just to be sure.
Right.
But he was
That's all
like,
I got to do? Cool.
Yeah, he was like, I can't, I ain't doing that. So Mark 8:36, let's see what this decision cost him.
Mark chapter 8, verse 36. For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?
See, that's what happened to him. He was so worried about his great possessions, he just was like, I'm not selling this. I can't do it. He was very sorrowful. I cannot do that. And the Lord said, read it again.
For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?
Right. So what profit is that having all these great possessions so you can live good right now? But what about your soul? He lost that because he wasn't willing to sell some of his possessions. That was a bad decision. Look what it cost him. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not worth it. When you look at the things of this world, right? Just sidebar for a second. You look at the things of this world. You look at your car, right? Look at your houses. When you first bought that car, if you got it brand new, you was like, man, this car is nice. What happened 5 years from the time you bought that car? Or 10 years if you still have it. The
Kids got food in it.
Stains in the seat. You know what I'm saying? And had to, repair this, repair that. And you're like, man, I can't wait to get rid of this car so I can get something better. It's not. So these possessions that we have in this world is not worth your soul. Read it again.
For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?
Man, all this stuff in this world is not worth your soul. But he fell in love with money and possessions, and that led him to making bad decisions, and it cost him dearly. Let's go to 2 Samuel.
Hey, officer, that also goes into why people break the Sabbath, so they can make money.
Oh, so they can make money, so they can fulfill the lust of their own hearts, do what they want to do? Yeah.
And at the end of it all, they're going to lose their own soul doing that.
Lose your soul behind it. What profit was it? Just so you can make some money that you're going to have to turn around and give it right back, be taxed on and everything else? You ain't going to really see no real benefit from it.
Nah.
Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 11, and we're going to read 2 through 4, then we're going to drop down to verse 11. Let's read about David.
2 Samuel chapter 11, verse 2.
Yes.
Verse 2. And it came to pass, In an eventide, that David arose off his bed and walked upon the roof of the king's house. And from the roof he saw a woman washing herself, and the woman was very beautiful to look upon. And David sent and inquired after the woman.
So David seen this woman, she's up there bathing, and David's like, oh my goodness, I got to have that. You know what I'm saying? I got to have that. So he goes and inquires about it. Now, David already had wives and everything else, but he was insatiable right there. He had to have another one. So read on.
And one said, is not this Bathsheba?
So everybody's like, it was like, Dave, this is Bathsheba. I mean, yeah, everybody know who that is. Read on.
The daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite. And David sent messengers and took her. And she came. So
he's like, man, this is Uriah. This is your boy's wife right here. You know, that's who that is. And so what did David do? Verse
4. And David sent messengers and took her. And she came in unto him.
David was like, look, I don't care who she married to. I don't care. Y'all go get her and bring her to me.
And he lay with her, for she was purified from her uncleanness, and she returned unto her house.
So David was so caught up in her beauty, he was like, I don't care if she's married. I don't care if she's married to one of my best warriors, which that's what he was. He was like, y'all bring her to me, and I'm laying with her tonight. All right?
Dang.
That's cold, man. You know, that was a very, very bad move by David right there. That was a bad move, bad decision. All right, drop down to verse 11. Let's see why it was a bad decision.
Verse 11. And Uriah said unto David, the ark and Israel and Judah abide in tents, and my lord Joab and the servants of my lord are encamped in open fields. Shall I then go into mine house to eat and drink, and to lie with my wife? As thou livest, and as thy soul liveth, I will not do this thing. And David said unto Uriah, tarry here today also.
Okay, so let's stop there. So David, after he lay with her, he's like, you know what? I got to get rid of her because she's pregnant. You know, I got to get rid of her husband. So he put her lord in a battle in the front lines and had him killed. Okay, now let's drop down to the next chapter.
Chapter 12, verse 1?
Yes, no, 11. Let's go to verse 11. Just kind of, we're going to skip ahead here.
2 Samuel chapter 12, verse 11.
Uh-huh.
Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will raise up evil against thee.
Sort of verse 10. Sort of verse 10.
Verse 10. Now therefore,
now this is David's judgment for sleeping with the married woman, getting her pregnant, and then having her husband killed. This is his punishment. Verse 10.
Now therefore, the sword shall never depart from thine house, because thou hast despised me, and hast taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be thy wife. Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will raise up evil against thee out of thine own house, and I will take thy wives before thine eyes, and give them unto thy neighbor, and he shall lie with thy wives in the sight of this son.
So that hatred, this goes into like Absalom, right? Remember Absalom lay with David's wives, his own son? Read on.
For thou didst it secretly, but I will do this thing before all Israel.
So you tried to, set Uriah up, have him killed, and lay with his wife and everything secretly. But what I do, this punishment upon you is going to be for all Israel to see. Come on.
And before the sun. And David said unto Nathan, I have sinned against the Lord. And Nathan said unto David, the Lord also hath put away thy sin. Thou shalt not die.
So he says, you know what? This sin that you committed is worthy of death. But the Lord said, okay, he ain't going to kill you. You're not going to die, but you're going to have to suffer the consequences of this right here. Read on.
Howbeit, because by thy deed thou hast given great occasion to the enemies of the Lord to blaspheme, the child also that is born unto thee shall surely die.
So that child that she's pregnant with, that child's going to die. Come on.
And Nathan departed unto his house, and the Lord struck the child that Uriah's wife bare unto David, and it was very sick.
Now, when you read on, in the interest of time, if you read on, you find out that child did die. So everything that the Lord said happened to David. That he said he was going to do to David happened. So that one mistake, well, it was multiple mistakes, compound mistakes, bad decisions that he made. Look what it cost him. It wasn't worth it, Look what it cost him. It cost his child to die, just the war in his household between his son. It was just a bunch of, when you read on the whole history of it, it was real bad. That one decision right there cost him dearly,
He's making drastic life decisions off of temporary emotions.
Yes.
And it just cost him cost him a lot.
Few minutes of, pleasure, if you will. Look what it cost him. It wasn't worth it.
Right.
Look back at it. A lot of times when we make bad decisions, I mean, every time you make a bad decision, you look back and say, I should have done that, or I shouldn't have said that. So obviously, David regretted that, mistake right there. And then when you read a lot of Psalms and stuff, you can read how he regretted it,
Definitely.
He begged the Lord, don't take this Holy Spirit from him, and so forth and so on. And that's the same thing, we do when we make bad decisions. Then we want to go to the Lord and say, okay, Lord, help me after you've made the bad decision. All right, so now let's look at some good decisions, okay? That's enough bad decisions. Look at some good decisions now. Let's go to Matthew chapter 4. And we're going to read 18 through 23. Matthew 4, 18 through 23.
Matthew chapter 4 and verse 18. And Jesus, walking by the Sea of Galilee, saw two brethren, Simon called Peter, and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers. And he said unto them, Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men.
So he sees, Peter and Andrew, right? They're fishing, minding their own business. Christ comes up to him and said, hey, look, follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men. Let's see what they did.
And they straightway left their nets and followed him.
That was their living. That was their livelihood. They was like, oh, I never met you before. I don't know who you are, but let me just drop my net, and I'm going to follow you. Now, we read this, right? We're like, oh, yeah, no big deal. I want y'all to think about that. You at work, somebody comes up to you in the middle of you while you at work and says, hey, look, I want you to stop going to work, quit your job, and follow me. And you just say, okay. Who would do that?
Dang, yeah.
Who would do that? But they did. It says straightway. I mean, without hesitation, they dropped their nets. It was like, okay, let's go. All right? I want you to go all the way to 23.
Yes, sir. Verse 21. And going on from thence, he saw other two brethren, James the son of Zebedee, and John his brother, in a ship with Zebedee their father, mending their nets, and he called them.
So the Lord said same thing to them. Hey, y'all two, come follow me. Read on.
And they immediately left the ship and their father and followed him.
Their father's like, hey, son, get back. We in the middle of work. What you doing?
Right.
Hey, Pops, I'm out. So look, these two men, right? They was like, look, I'm dropping my nets. I'm out. Left their father right there, and followed after Christ. Read on.
And Jesus went about all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing all manner of sickness and all manner of disease among the people.
So by them following Christ, look what they got to witness firsthand. They got to witness firsthand him healing the sick. What else was that? Healing all manner of diseases amongst the people, all preaching, they got the chance to witness that firsthand. We're reading about it, but they was right there firsthand. They seen it with their own eyes.
Right.
Just by them dropping their nets and following Christ, as he commanded them, hey, come follow me. That was a good decision on their part. And not only did they get a chance to witness that, let's look what else they got for that right there. Let's go to Matthew 19. By them following after Christ, Matthew 19, verse 27 through 30.
Matthew chapter 19, verse 27. Then answered Peter and said...
Because remember, Peter was the first one, right, that he called, come follow after me, right? So this is what Peter says to Christ. Come on.
Then answered Peter and said unto him, Behold, we have forsaken all and followed thee.
Remember, we left our nets there. We left our father stand. Some left their father right there, just took off and followed after you. So he said, we forsaken all and followed after you. Come on.
What shall we have therefore? And Jesus said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me, in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel.
Look at that. Look at that. Because they dropped their nets and followed Christ, right? Not only did they get a chance to witness all the miracles and everything firsthand, now they get to sit on the throne judging the 12 tribes of Israel. So they got a high position in the kingdom. When the kingdom come, they got a guaranteed slot.
Yep.
That was a great decision just by dropping your nets.
Decision.
That was the best decision they ever made.
Right.
Now they sitting on the throne judging 12 tribes of Israel when that time comes, right?
Right.
So that was a great decision. Let's keep reading, though.
Verse 29. And every one that hath forsaken houses or brethren or sisters.
And not only that, but the rest of everybody else, like us here, because you may have forsaken houses. Read on.
Or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands, for my name's sake, shall receive 100-fold, and shall inherit everlasting life.
So the 12 disciples, they got a chance. They're going to receive 100-fold. And guess what? So will you. If you repent, keep the commandments, and hold on and endure to the end, you're going to get that same thing, 100-fold, whatever you lost, right? That's a great decision if you stay on this path. If we stay on this path.
Right.
So you see with the choices they're made, how great it worked out for them. Read on.
But many that are first shall be last.
Because right now we're actually last, right? We're on the bottom, captivity, you name it. Right now we're last, but guess what though?
And the last shall be first.
But in the end, we all gonna be first. So yeah, we're getting persecuted right now. They were getting persecuted back then, some put to death, right? But in the end, they're gonna be where? On the throne, judging Israel. Where we gonna be at? In that number, right? You know what I'm saying? Receiving 100-fold into the kingdom. So make good decisions. All right. Now let's go to Luke 23.
Hey, officer, that's like some of us who heard the truth. We heard it online. We was like, oh, that's it.
Yes.
And we just like dropped Christianity. We just dropped. Started moving. You know.
Yes. That's a good point right there. They dropped their nets and work and everything else, but you dropped something else to join this truth.
Right.
You might have to drop family. Like I read in the scripture, right? You may have lost family, wives, children, cousins, you name it, because you followed after Christ. But guess what? You're gonna receive 100-fold of that in the kingdom.
That's right.
All right. That's making a good decision right there. Good choice. Making a good decision. Luke 23, and we're going to read verses 39 through 43.
Luke chapter 23, verse 39. And one of the malefactors, one of the malefactors which were hanged railed on him, saying, if thou be Christ, save thyself and us.
So now this is Christ, right? They're all hung on a cross. Christ, and he has a man on each side of him. He's teasing Christ. Oh, if you're really Christ, then save yourself and save me. If you're really Christ, teasing him. All right, read on.
But the other answering rebuked him.
But saying, the other man on the other side of Christ rebuked that man. Like, come on.
Saying, dost not thou fear God, seeing thou art in the same condemnation?
Look, you're in the same thing. You're teasing Christ, talking about save us, making a joke out of this while you're in the midst of dying, right? And, this is what you want to say, this is what you want to do, come on.
And we indeed justly.
He says, but you and I, the difference between him is that you and I, we're on this cross justly. We committed errors. We broke laws or whatever it was, right?
Right.
And we deserve to be here, but Christ, he don't deserve to be here. And you're, trying to tease him at this point. All right, read on.
For we receive the due reward of our deeds, but this man hath done nothing amiss. And he said unto Jesus, Lord, remember me when thou comest into thy kingdom.
So just for standing up for Christ, he stood up for Christ. Because Christ could have checked the guy,
Right.
But this guy stood up for Christ and was like, you know what, Lord, please remember me. And look what Christ said.
And Jesus said unto him, verily I say unto thee, today shalt thou be with me in paradise.
By that one decision right there. Now, this was a man who committed sin, broke the law, and that's why he's on the cross. Right. But at the midnight hour, literally, for this guy, right? He's like, hey, Lord, remember me when you get in the kingdom. And everything that he did was forgiven. And what did the Lord say? Read it again. Or read that last part.
And Jesus said unto him, verily I say unto thee, today shalt thou be with me in paradise.
He got the keys to the kingdom right there. He's going to the kingdom. Just by that one decision right there. Now the other guy could have said the same thing. He made so you see a bad decision, you see a good decision right there. So that good decision, look what it caught, look what he got in the end. And then the other guy who made the bad decision, look what it got him, right? No repentance. That was a bad move. He had Christ right there. Like he could, he had a chance. He was dying. You know what I'm saying? Why not take that chance? Lord, save me too then. But nah, he didn't do that. So that was a bad decision and a good decision. So now we're going to get into how to make good decisions. So now I gave you examples of bad decisions and good decisions and the consequences for both, right? So now let's get into how do we make good decisions. All right, here's the answers. How do we make good decisions?
Let's do it.
So before I get into that, I want to say something. This is something I say to the officers here before you make a decision. Sometimes you have time, and sometimes you don't have time. You got to think quickly, but you always got to be prepared. So I always tell them this. I remember when I first came into the truth, I did a lot of sewing my own fringes. Now I know you're probably looking at me like, you don't know how to. Yeah, I know my
Yes.
way around
He
the
knows how to
sewing
sew.
machine. All right. So I'm going to give you a little analogy. All right, when it comes to sewing, one thing I learned, or this comes to like carpentry work or something like that, right? You always want to measure twice and cut once. There was many a times when I first started sewing and stuff, I'd be like, this looks like it's going to be enough fringe or enough ribbon or blue, whatever. Let me go and do this. And then it'd be short. And then now I got to piece together another piece, and it don't, you're trying to do things perfect and right. It don't look the same, Especially I didn't have that much. I had skill, but not that kind of skill. So that's the thing you have to apply in everything is you want to, and remember this, measure twice and cut once. All right. So whatever, before you make a decision, you want to think about it, pray about it, meditate on it, and then make your decision. That way, whatever decision you made, you can look back and say, you know what, based off what I knew, based off everything, I would do that again because I went through the proper steps. So you always want to measure twice and cut once. All right. So now let's get into the scriptures. How do we make good decisions? Let's open up with Psalms 111 and 10.
Oldie but goodie, like you said.
Oh, yeah.
The book of Psalms, chapter 111 and verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
So to make good decisions, you must have wisdom. Without wisdom, you're going to make bad decisions. The thief on the cross. No wisdom, bad decision. The other guy had some wisdom and made a great decision, right?
Right.
So you got to have some wisdom. In order to have wisdom, you have to do what? You have to fear the Lord. Now, here's one thing. You guys can write this down. Most of you guys probably know this, but just in case you don't, where do you learn about how to fear the Lord? Where do you learn that at? You learn that in Sirach chapter 2, verse 15 through 18, right? 15 on down. That teaches you what it means to fear the Lord. So you guys just write that down. What does it mean to fear the Lord? The answer is Sirach chapter 2, verse 15 on down. All right, so you have to fear the Lord to get wisdom. You need that wisdom to make good decisions. Come on.
A good understanding have all they that do his commandments.
So now if you do the commandments, now you're going to have a good understanding. All right?
His praise endureth forever.
And his praise endure forever. So you have to fear the Lord to obtain this wisdom. So you need wisdom to make good decisions. All right? Now let's go to Proverbs 2 and 6.
Proverbs chapter 2 and verse 6. For the Lord giveth wisdom.
That's the only place you're going to get wisdom. You're not going to get it from Big Mama and them. The only way you're going to get wisdom, now they may have some old wise tales or some old wise saying and stuff like that, but to actually make good decisions, you're going to need wisdom. And that's going to come from the Lord, not Big Mama and them. All right?
Out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding.
So to get that wisdom, you have to go through the Lord. And out of his mouth come knowledge and understanding. And you can use that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to make the right decisions. All right? Now let's go to Jude chapter. I mean, not Jude chapter, but Jude verse 19. Because most of the time, if not all the time, when you make a bad decision, it's based off this right here. Watch this.
Jude verse 19. These be they who separate themselves.
Meaning you standing by yourself, you making this decision on your own. You're not seeking no counsel. You're doing it all by yourself. And what does that lead to?
Sensual.
Being sensitive or in your emotions and feelings.
Having not the Spirit.
Not having the Spirit. So 9 times out of 10, when you make a bad decision, it's because that decision was made out of your emotions. Your emotions, your feelings, and I feel this is right, I think. And you're not basing off of facts and what, is really the right thing to do, right? So most of the time, if you really think about it, the decisions you make that are bad is based off your feelings. Maybe before the truth, the type of people you associated yourself with, maybe the mates you selected, they made me feel good and not based off of, yeah, but he don't have a job or he do this or he does that. But he makes me feel good. That's a bad decision. Or maybe it's the other way around. You choose a woman based off that or whatever, right? We make bad decisions based off our emotions. So don't let your emotions get the best of you. Don't let your emotions lead you into making a decision that you're going to regret, right? So a lot of that has to do with being sensual, emotional. Don't let your emotions control you, all right? You control your emotions. All right, let's go to Sirach chapter 27 and verse 12.
Sirach chapter 27 and verse 12. If thou be among the indiscreet, observe the time.
Now, check this out. If you're around the wrong people, you're going to make bad decisions. You know, but being around the indiscreet, you got to observe the time. And if you're around people that's not repentant, you know what? As soon as you can get out of there, get out of there. You know, the people that you work with, if they not repentant, as soon as work is over, don't be going to happy hour with them and doing different things like that. It's going to lead to some sin, lead to bad choices, bad decisions. So when you're amongst the indiscreet, do what?
Observe the time.
Observe the time.
But be continually among men of understanding.
You want to be around men and women that have understanding, because that'll rub off on you. You know, you can always ask, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think about that? Oh, I did that. That's not a good idea, or whatever, right? Don't be around those sinners, but be around those that are continually, that is keeping the commandments. All right. Go to Proverbs 1 and 10. And why do we observe the time when you're amongst the indiscreet? Watch this. I already said it, but this is going to bring a little bit more light to it, right?
Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 10. My son, if sinners entice thee.
Because when you're amongst the indiscreet, they will entice you. My son, if sinners entice thee.
Consent thou not.
Don't consent. Don't go with it, But if you're amongst the indiscreet, you'll get come to a point where you'll get comfortable being around them. You'll enjoy being around them. You'll like being around them. And that's going to lead you to making bad decisions. So observe the time when you're around the ungodly, when you're around sinners. Observe the time. Get out of there. If you ain't got to be around them, don't be around them, because guess what? Read it again.
My son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not.
Because if you're around them long enough, they will entice you and you will make bad decisions. All right. So watch who you're around and be around godly men and women, that's known to keep the commandments. All right. You say something? Want to say something, officer?
No, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. Let's go back to Sirach 21. And we're going to read verse 2. Sirach 21 and verse 2. That indiscreet, when you observe the time being around indiscreet, guess who that is? That could be your big mama.
Yeah.
Oh, watch it. That could be big mama. All right. That could be your auntie. That could be your cousins, your best friends in the world. And I know it's hard to say no to them, but guess what? You're around big mama long enough, big mama's going to say, hey, Thanksgiving's around the corner. You might as well just come. You don't even have to eat nothing. Just come by and say hi to the family, right? And they guilt you into going around the family. All right. You could because guess what? They enticed you. Big mama. I know it's hard to say no to big mama. She's my favorite. Or your tia, or what is it? Abuela?
Yeah.
It's hard to turn them down, And if you're around them long enough, they will entice you. You know what? I'm not going to celebrate Thanksgiving. I'm coming over, but I'm not going to celebrate Thanksgiving. I just want to say hi to everybody. Well,
I won't get a plate today, but I'll come by tomorrow and grab me a plate.
Yeah, if you make me a plate, I'm not going to eat it today. I'll take it home and I'll eat it tomorrow, but I'm not eating it today. I'm not going to celebrate this with you guys.
Right.
See, they'll entice you, and then you'll start thinking that's not that bad of an idea. I can do that.
It's not that bad.
They'll entice you. So, but watch this. Sirach 21.
Sirach chapter 21 and verse 2. Flee from sin.
Do what?
Flee from sin as from the face of a serpent.
So you got to flee from sin. You got to treat sin like it's a poisonous snake. Every single one of us, if you see a snake in the room, you out of there. Even if it's non-poisonous, but most of us, right? Some of us, not worried about them, but most of us, man, you out of there. So you have to use that same, when it comes to sin. You got to flee from that. Come on.
For if thou comest too near it, it will bite thee.
So if you come too near, it'll bite you. You're around the wrong people long enough, and they entice you, man, it'll bite you. You'll start making bad decisions, and then you'll be wondering, why? What's going on? Well, you didn't follow instructions. So flee from sin. All right. Now, Sirach chapter 6.
You want to finish that out?
Yeah. Go ahead and finish that out.
The teeth thereof are as the teeth of a lion, slaying the souls of men.
So that your friends, your family, if they come in, obviously they're in sin if they haven't repented, and you're around them long enough, they'll bite you, they'll entice you, and you'll start making bad decisions. So you want to flee from them. I know it may be hard, but you know what? If you want to make it to the kingdom, these are the choices and decisions you're going to have to make. If you want to make good decisions, these are the choices and decisions you're going to have to make.
That's what the disciples did when you read in Matthew.
Yes.
It said they forsook family of friends and
houses, lands, all that.
daughters, children, all that stuff. And because all those things would have enticed them and brought them in.
Exactly. All right. Exactly. Let's go to Sirach chapter 6.
Yes, sir. Which verse?
Oh, I'm sorry, verse 2.
Sirach.
And we're going to dance around this chapter a little bit. All
Yes,
right?
sir. Sirach chapter 6 and verse 2. Extol not thyself.
Now, the word extol means to praise or lift up. All right? So don't praise or lift up what?
Extol not thyself in the counsel of thine own heart.
So the counsel you give yourself, you know, I'm going to do this without seeking counsel from somebody else or getting a second opinion. Don't lift up your counsel and be like, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. I don't need no help. I'll make this decision on my own. Now, some decisions you do, you know, you're not going to come and say, hey, you know, I'm not sure what should I, you know, wear tomorrow. You know, that's a decision you make on your own, you know. But I'm talking about the major decisions, right? You know, don't lift yourself up and say, I'm following this right here. I'm going to make this work. I'm going to do it my way. You know, get some counsel. Come on.
Extol not thyself in the counsel of thine own heart, that thy soul be not torn in pieces as a bull straying alone.
So if you straying alone, you'll be, you know, you'll make a decision now to tear you up, you know, and you'll be like, man, why did I do that? Why did I say that? You know, I cannot believe I did that, you know. So don't lift up your own, you know, counsel and not seek counsel from wise men and women. Right? Now let's drop down to, we're going to read verse 6 and 7.
Verse 6. Be in peace with many, nevertheless have but one counselor of 1,000.
So that's one mistake I see people make is they tell all their business to everybody. And you go tell it to the wrong person, even in the truth, unfortunately. You know, you'll tell it to the wrong person. Next thing you know, everybody know your business.
Right.
You know, so-and-so, so-and-so. And it's like, and it's hard to stop because one thing we know about people is bad news travel fast.
Sure do.
Unfortunately, even in the truth, you know, some people, they have those itching ears and they just can't control themselves. It's something they got to work on, right. You know. So don't be, you know, telling your business to everybody.
And here's the thing, officer. When people come in the truth, they think that because we're in the Bible that everybody in the truth is following the Bible.
That's correct.
But everybody in the truth is not following the Bible. That's why these scriptures are here to give you wisdom so that way you don't make the wrong decisions.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's here because people are breaking these things. These are things that people are doing.
Right.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So you can't come in here expecting people not to tell your business. People are going to tell your business.
Some are, yeah.
Some will. And that's why the scriptures say, that's why this scripture that you bringing out is saying, look, be at peace with many, but have one counselor.
That's right.
Of 1,000. Why? Because if you don't, if you run your mouth, you're going to have to deal with the consequences of everybody else knowing your business.
That's correct. That's correct.
And it's heavy that you say that too, officer, because it's just like you said, people coming in, they're not coming in because they're perfect. They coming in because they got demons too that they got to deal with.
Right. So I want y'all to look at it like this right here. Check this out. We all battle different things when we came into the truth and still battling certain things, right? Whatever I'm battling, you know, I look at, okay, look, I'm working on this, whatever. Somebody in this truth is battling having itching ears. Somebody in this truth is battling being a gossiper. You know, they're battling that. Now, they trying to work on that. Lord's will, they trying to work on that. But it's something that they have to work on. And you tell them something that's too juicy, you know, in the world. These are the same people, you know. I remember, you know, when I grew up in Christianity, right? I would listen to the Sunday school teachers and stuff talk about, you know, no gossip, you know, love your neighbor and all this stuff as a little kid. 8, 9 years old. Now, this is pre-cell phone where you had to get to a landline. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to make a phone call. I know. That's pre-cell phone, all right? And I remember, you know, 7, 8, 9 years old hearing this stuff. And as a kid, this is what we got to do. And then as soon as we get home, my mom flying to the phone. Oh, girl, did you hear about Sister Betty? You know, yeah, Sister Betty doing it. I'm like, and I'm listening to I'm like, wait a minute, isn't that gossiping? I remember one time I even asked my mom, is that gossiping? Y'all don't want to know what happened to me after
Boy,
y'all don't want to know. But listen, some people battle that, you know. So some people that came in here come from the Christian church where gossiping and all that type of stuff is the norm. And then you tell them the wrong thing, you know what time it is. So read that verse again.
Sirach 6, verse 6.
Come on.
Be in peace with many, Nevertheless, have but one counselor of 1,000.
That's right. Have but one counselor of 1,000. Come on.
If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first.
So before you start telling all your stuff to this person, make sure you prove them and make sure that, you know what, I could trust this person. You know, don't tell them everything. You know, just maybe you throw a little something at them and see how they handle it. See the advice they give you. And if it seems right, maybe you extend that and go a little further next time. But you always want to prove that person before you just open up to them. All right.
And be not hasty to credit him.
Don't be so fast. You know, it may take years for you to get the full trust or whatever into that person where, you know, you can start opening up to them. You know, don't just, oh, you in the truth? Day one. Now, guess what I used to do? No, don't do that. Take some time. Don't be hasty to credit them.
I was a crackhead. And no, don't do that.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. We finished verse 7?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's drop down to verse 32 through 37.
Sirach, chapter 6, verse 32. My son, if thou wilt, thou shalt be taught. And
If you have a desire to be taught, you will. Some of us be stubborn in our ways and don't want to. No, if you will, you can be taught.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So don't believe that I'm too old to change and all that. No, no matter how old you are, you can change. You can.
Moses was 80.
Yes.
And if thou wilt apply thy mind, thou shalt be prudent.
Prudent means you are, you know, taking all the precautions. You know, you're very detailed in what you do. So you want to be prudent, you know, when you make decisions. Come on.
If thou love to hear, thou shalt receive understanding.
So if you love to hear, listen to the wise men, listen to the wise women, you know, and see, you know, and pick their brains on things, you know, and you'll get more understanding than you thought you would get. Come on.
And if thou bow thine ear, thou shalt be wise.
So if you bow your ear and listen, you'll be wise. Because most of the people that's been in here for a while, they've been through, or I guarantee you this, whatever you're going through, somebody have been through that already. And already, you know, either, you know, had to suffer through that or made the right choice or right decision, whatever. And you can learn from that, you know. So, you know, listen to the wise. You know, it'll save you in the long run. Read on.
Stand in the multitude of elders and cleave unto him that is wise.
So those that are wise, you want to cleave unto them, be around them, because if you do that, you get that wisdom, you'll make better decisions. Guaranteed. Come on.
Be willing to hear every godly discourse, and let not the parables of understanding escape thee.
So listen to everything. So when this happened, how did you handle that? And then listen to what they say, and don't think, oh no, I ain't got to do it that way. I can do it my way. No, that's whenever you start thinking like that, you know, a fall is coming, guaranteed.
I think sometimes when people get counsel in the truth, they think that the counsel is just guidance. You know, it's suggestion. Like especially when you get counsel and the person is giving you scriptures, like scriptures on scriptures on scriptures. Look, brother, you know, you probably shouldn't do this because these scriptures. And the person, they look at it as a suggestion, and they don't look at it as this is the word. This is the word coming from the Most High through this prophet.
Right.
They're saying, oh, this is just, you know,
you're just a man.
You're just a man. You know, the Lord ain't dealing with you. You know what I'm saying? But then
they make that bad decision.
And then they say, surely a prophet was among you. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Once that judgment comes.
That's absolutely right. Read on, officer.
Verse 36. If thou seest a man of understanding, get thee betimes unto him, and let thy foot wear the steps of his door.
I would rather, like the captains is over me, I would rather they say, look, you call and you bug, you do this too much. And I would rather wear out their doorsteps than to not call them and just start making decisions on my own and make bad decisions that I regret later. So I'd rather bug them and they look at their phone and be like, oh, it's Ophir again. Yes, officer. What is it this time? I'd rather they feel that way about me than to be like, you know, Ophir, he's just doing what he wants to do. He ain't, you know, seeking counsel. You know, telling. Nah, I'd rather be the opposite. So wear out the doorsteps. See somebody in your school, and you see wisdom. You know, whether it's an officer or a soldier or a sister, whatever it is. You know, be around them, learn from them, and ask them, pick their brain. What would you do here? Or what do you think I should do based off this? After you prove them, you know, whoever you're going to be telling your information to.
Right.
All right, read on.
Verse 37. Let thy mind be upon the ordinances of the Lord, and meditate continually.
Do what?
Meditate continually.
So if you're always in the Bible, always studying, always praying, always applying, and you're continually in this right here, the Lord's going to give you the wisdom that we talked about earlier, right? And you'll make better decisions because now you're keeping the commandments. You're always in this. You're around wise men and women. You're listening to that godly discourse. So now when you make a decision, it's going to be based off of everything that you've been learning and listening to, and you'll make a good decision. Come on.
And meditate continually in his commandments. He shall establish thine heart and give thee wisdom at thine own desire.
And he'll establish your heart, your mind, establish your mind, and give you wisdom to make those good decisions.
And you know that's funny because it's saying to meditate continually on the commandments of the Lord. We use this example quite a bit, but if you're listening to nothing but Tupac and nothing but Yin Yang Twins and the East Side Boys, whatever, all day long, your decision making is going to be everything that you put in. All over the place. It's going to be all over the place. So when you're putting this in your mind and you're continually meditating on the word, your decision making, along with getting counsel and things like that, man, your decision making is going to be a lot better than than what you've been doing before.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good point, officer. Let's go to, we finished that up, right?
Yes, sir.
Let's go to Joshua 1:8.
Joshua.
Okay, how to make good decisions. They should be picking up what I'm putting down, right?
Yep.
All right, let's go to Joshua chapter 1, verse 8.
The book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 8. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night.
You see that? Going right back to meditating again. You got to meditate on this day and night.
That thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein.
So you know what that observe to do goes into? Being around godly people, fleeing from sin, observing the time when you're around the indiscreet. So you're keeping all that, right? You're listening to the discourse of wise men and women. You got a friend that you've proven that you can trust. So you got all these safety nets and safeguards up because you're keeping the commandments. So now that you're doing that, read on.
For then,
once you do that,
thou shalt make thy way prosperous.
You'll prosper in the decisions that you make.
And then thou shalt have good success.
Then you'll have good success. So now you won't be regretting these decisions, these poor decisions that you've made before. Now you're having good success. You turned it around. Because I can look back. Now I've made some bad decisions in the truth, right? Where you have the right intentions but the wrong execution. But it's a lot less now than when I was in the world. When I was in the world, it was nothing but bad decision after bad decision after bad decision.
Right. You was 0 for 50.
Probably 0 for 1,000. 0 for 1,000. So you want to be in this and meditate, and then you'll have good success, and your way will be prosperous. Right. Let's go to 1 Thessalonians. 1 Thessalonians 5 and 17.
The book of 1 Thessalonians, chapter 5 and verse 17.
So how do you make these good decisions? I want to keep saying this so it drills in your head. How do you make these good decisions? Here's another step right here.
Pray without ceasing.
Never stop praying. Always be in prayer. You can be praying while you're in your car. Pray while you at work, at school. Just say something, Lord. God, whatever you got to say. Just pray without ceasing. Right? Always talking to the Lord. All right. Pray without ceasing. Go to Proverbs chapter 19. And I want verse 20 and 21.
Proverbs chapter 19 and verse 20. Hear counsel and receive instruction, that thou mayest be wise in thy latter end.
So you want to hear the counsel of the wise that you've been around, right? You're practicing all the commandments, right? Hear counsel and receive instruction, because they'll tell you, this is what you should do or shouldn't do. And then you apply that. You listen to the counsel. Thou may be wise in your latter end. You're not going to regret the decisions that you have been making, right?
Right.
All right, read on.
There are many devices in a man's heart. Nevertheless, the counsel of the Lord, that shall stand.
And guess what? We have many devices in our own minds. You know what? I hear what he's saying, but I think I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do, he don't quite understand. And you can have all these different devices in your mind to tell you otherwise. But no, listen to what, a godly man showed you. Follow that, and you're going to read the last part of that.
Because nevertheless, the counsel of the Lord, that shall stand.
Because that counsel he gave you, it'll stand. It'll hold up. It'll stand the test of time. So listen to that counsel. Don't be afraid. Don't lean on your own understanding. Listen to that counsel. All right, and we're going to get into that right now. Let's go to Proverbs 3. And I want 5 through 7.
Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 5. Trust in the Lord.
Why? Because his counsel will stand. So trust in the Lord.
With all thine heart. And lean not unto thine own understanding.
Don't lean unto your own understanding. Let the decisions you make be based off what the Bible say. As far as listening to counsel, being around godly men and women, so forth and so on. I'm repeating myself, I know, but I want it to sink in. You do these things right here. Don't lean unto your own understanding. Read on.
In all thy ways acknowledge him.
So acknowledge the Lord, and here's why.
And he shall direct thy paths.
He will show you the decisions that you should make. You'll if you listen to the counsel that's given to you by the wise men and women, he'll direct your path through them. He'll tell you, do this, do that, and it will work. It will work. You have to trust in it. Read on.
Be not wise in thine own eyes.
Don't be wise in your own eyes and your own mind, no.
Fear the Lord.
Fear the Lord.
And depart from evil.
Because it's an evil thing to trust in your own self. Say, I don't need nobody. I don't need no counsel. I got it on my own. That's an evil thing, and it's going to lead you to a bad decision. The thief on the cross with Christ, when he teased him, saying, "Oh, save me," whatever. Guess what? That was in his own mind. That was evil right there. He trusted in himself, and look what that cost him. All right.
That kind of reminds me like how in Christianity they will make a decision based off of the wicked pastors that say, "Oh, the laws of God are done away with," and they end up jacking themselves up later in life off of those decisions. Just off of the dietary law alone, you see that affects us greatly. They don't follow men that keep the commandments. They're not making any wise decisions, even though it's right here in the Bible.
Absolutely, and that goes into what is that?
6.
Making your arms right.
Oh yeah, Jeremiah 17.
17, yeah. Jeremiah 17. Yeah, we're going to sidebar for a second. We'll stay in the book of Jeremiah. Jeremiah 17, I think, was it 9?
Verse 5.
5.
Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 5. Thus saith the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man.
Now, this is the man that you're talking about, the so-called pastors and preachers, the T.D. Jakes, the Creflo Dollars, and
right.
the Juanita Bynums and such like that, right? Curses the man that trusts in those men,
and maketh flesh his arm.
And make them, that's your defense. I'm trusting in them. They say the laws are done away with. T.D. Jakes says that. Creflo Dollar says that. Creflo Dollar says it's evil to keep the commandments, right?
Yeah.
All right, but I'm trusting in that. You may flesh your arms. Come on.
And whose heart departeth from the Lord.
And when your heart departs from the Lord, the first part of that says, cursed be that man. You'll be cursed, right? So you want to listen to counsel from godly men. That's why it says godly men, wise men. They're not godly men. They're not wise at all. I'm talking about the T.D. Jakes, the Creflo Dollars and stuff. Lord, will they repent? But right now, they're leading our people astray. Exactly. Let's go to Jeremiah 6. In verse 16, getting back to that point of trusting in the Lord. All right.
Jeremiah chapter 6 and verse 16. Thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths. Where is the good way?
And we did that. We showed, bad examples in the Bible in the beginning of people making bad decisions, and then we showed good decisions, right?
Right.
And then you also have counselors, you have wise men that you're listening to, and you're listening. What worked for you the old way? What worked for you? Because I have this same situation pop up for me. So you look at that and you want to stand in that. Read on.
And walk therein.
And you want to walk in those good ways.
And ye shall find rest for your souls.
And you'll make decisions where you'll be at peace with it. Like I made the right decision. You won't regret it.
But they said, we will not walk therein.
But some will be like, nope. I hear what you're saying. I know you're an old head telling me, nah, I'm going to do it this way, man. Nah. And guess what? Some will walk in that, and they're going to make a decision that they will regret. All right? Let's go to Philippians 4. We almost done, y'all. We almost done. Philippians 4. And I want verse 6.
The book of Philippians, chapter 4 and verse 6.
And I like this right here.
Be careful for nothing.
Be careful for nothing. Now, you read that and be like, what does it mean to be careful for nothing? If there's nothing there, what am I careful for?
Right.
I don't need to be careful. It's like this right here. How many of you guys, who's bold enough to type on there and say, yeah, this happened to me? Well, you're walking, you're not paying attention, and the next thing you know, you trip and damn near fall. Because the sidewalk was raised up, or maybe there was a rock or something, or you didn't see something, and you wasn't paying attention, you almost fell. How many of you guys ever done that? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. All right. You know what? The Bible says to be careful for nothing. So if you're looking around, it's like, look, this sidewall looks straight, looks flat, nothing's going to happen. But you still should be observing, looking around, because you never know. Conditions may change, whatever. You still want to look around and see, and I'm just being observant of what's in front of me. So that's what this means right here, to be careful for nothing. So even if it doesn't seem like nothing's there, you still want to exercise some caution and be careful and look around, right?
Hey, that's like what Deacon Athan was saying, those men that were sipping the water like this instead of with their head down.
Yes, lapping it up like a dog.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yes, be careful for nothing. Let's read it from the top.
Be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God.
So pray to the Lord and request, Lord, I have this coming up. Should I take this job? I have something that's pretty good right now, but I'm thinking about, leaving my job and starting a business or doing this. What should I do? I've counseled with, several men and women. They said it's a good idea. I do have a nest egg saved up to get me through. You want to pray and make your request known unto the Lord, and right. He will direct your path. Don't just be like, you know what? I'm tired of this job. I'm quitting. I'm going to start my own business, and next thing you know, it don't work. And you lost everything you had.
Right.
You made a bad decision, without seeking counsel and really thinking it through. All right. So make sure that you, seek counsel, and you be careful for it in everything that that and make a plan for everything that could go wrong and could go right, whatever, based off the decision that you make. So be careful. Be careful. Let's go to Luke 21. 2 more scriptures and we out of here, y'all. I want Luke 21, verse 19.
Luke chapter 21 and verse 19. In your patience possess ye your souls.
So be patient. Don't make no rash decisions. Sometimes you do have to move kind of quickly, right? But most of the time, we always have time to kind of think about it. And one thing you guys know, officers here, is whenever you guys bring something to me, hey, officer, this is what's going on. What do you want to do? I always say, okay, you know what? Let me pray on this, and I'll get back with you tomorrow, later, right, or tomorrow, or something like that, right? I like to give myself, if it's possible, I like to give myself 24 hours to think on something. Sometimes I know you guys are like, what do you think I should do? Like, give me, and I'd be like, I'll get back with you on that.
Right.
Right.
It's never, I shouldn't say never, but it's not always an immediate answer. You right. Give yourself time to think on it.
Use patience, think it through, because a lot of times your first decision can be right, a lot of times, but sometimes it's not. So if you think about it and really weigh the pros and cons of each choice you make, should I do this? Should I do that? So now when I come to you with an answer, I could tell you this is what I would do, and this is why I would do it, but these are the things to look out for as well. You know what I'm saying? But you can't get that full understanding when you're just making decisions like this right here. You want to think about it. So read that scripture again.
Luke chapter 21, verse 19. In your patience possess ye your souls.
So use everything that you've learned today, right? Keeping the commandments, being around godly men, listening to every godly discourse, taking counsel, applying it, from a friend and not from somebody that, somebody that will tell you what you want to hear, but tell you what you need to hear. Apply all those things right there. You'll make good decisions, and don't make these decisions rashly just so quickly, right? Have patience, and then make your decision. And then at the end, when you do that, whether this decision work out, because even you can do all these things, and sometimes it still may not work out. Maybe you start a business where you took all the precautions that you could think of, and at the end of the day, the business didn't work. You can sit there and say, I wish I'd have never done that. Yeah, but you followed all the steps, but not everything will work out perfectly every time. But at least you can look back and say, you know what? Everything I did leading up to that was right. If I go back, I probably would do the same thing again. That's what you want to have, even if it wasn't the right decision, right? But you followed the steps. Again, I want to reiterate that, because you could follow all the steps properly and still it may not work out. But you can look back and say, based off what I knew at that time, this is what I would do again, right? So in your patience, patiently make that decision. Now, last scripture, let's go to Luke, Luke, but we're going to go to chapter 14. And we're going to read 28 through 30.
Luke chapter 14, verse 28. For which of you, intending to build a tower, sitteth not down first, and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it.
So before you build a tower or a house or whatever you're doing, you got to sit down and count the cost. You may say, look, I want to have a 5-bedroom, 2-story, 3-car garage house sitting on 2 or 3 acres, right? But then you look at your wallet and it says, oh no, partner, you don't qualify for that. So you can't make plans to buy something that you don't have enough to finish it, right? So you got to sit down and count that cost. You know what? Do I have enough wood? Do I have enough money to pay for that? Do I have enough money for the concrete? Do I have enough money for this to build that, right? Just thinking of a house, for instance. Now, a decision that you make concerning something else, let's say joining the truth, right? I want to join IUIC. I want to be in the truth. I want to keep the commandments. You have to count that cost. You know what? Am I willing to give up the Sabbath day, stop shopping, stop buying, stop cooking on those days? Do I want to keep the high holy days? Do I want to do all these things? Can I do all these things? Not just for a season, but until, Christ's return, right? And still got to continue to do it, but you get what I'm saying. You have to count that cost, because you'll do that and you'll start off like a shooting star and be doing everything, but then you start missing the world. Family and friends is telling you you're in a cult, you're crazy, why you doing this? Next thing you know, you fizzled out. Not you, not me, Lord's will.
All right.
All right.
Yes.
But we have seen that happen to some, right?
Yes.
We have seen that happen to not just some, many, start off strong, but like, man, I can't believe that brother, man, he went back to the world. Yeah, he did. Or that sister, I cannot believe it. Why? Because they didn't count the cost. So whenever you make a decision, before you make that decision, patience, right? And your patience possess your soul. Sit down and count the cost. Can I do it? Can I finish this? If I can, then okay, let me make that decision. So sit down and count that cost. Read on.
Lest happily, after he hath laid the foundation.
So you joined the truth. You started. You keeping these commandments. You done got fringes. You've been doing this for 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years.
And is not able to finish it. All that behold it.
And your family, your friends, like, I remember you was in the truth. You was doing this. You was telling me to stop doing this. Don't eat pork. And here you are with me on Thanksgiving right now. You done quit that. Read on.
All that behold it begin to mock him.
And then they start to mock you. Remember you was with that group. What was that purple group you was with? Something like that. Yeah, you was in the, yeah. And now you're the laughing stock because you made a decision and you didn't count the cost and you wasn't able to endure. Read on.
Saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish.
And was not able to finish. So the key point, go back to verse 28 again.
Verse 28.
This is the key point of all this right here.
For which of you intending to build a tower sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it?
That's the way you got to attack every decision you make. Sit down, count the cost. Is this the right move? Think of all the pros, all the cons, and say, where do I stand, or where do I line up in this? Where does the scriptures apply to this? Where does, the counsel that I received, how does that work with what I got lined up or what I'm planning to do or whatever it is, right? So you sit down and you take all these factors, you add it all up, you count that cost and say, you know what, based off of everything here, this is the decision I'm going to make. And Lord's will, that decision will work for you every time.
We used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission, minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold, from Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.